Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Asteri Sofia Kairos. I'm Sonia from Celestia Astrology, and I'm going to be here all through January, taking you through the astrology for the first month of 2026. So we're now reached the second week of January, and these are the transits that we have. On the 7th, we've got Venus conjunct Mars in Capricorn at 18 degrees. On the 9th, we've got a Mars Cazimi at 19 degrees in Capricorn. And also on the 9th, we've got Venus opposing Jupiter at 20 degrees in Capricorn. And then on the 10th, we've got the Sun opposite Jupiter at 20 degrees Capricorn. And also on the same day, we've got Mars opposite Jupiter at 20 degrees. So I just wanted to center us a little bit in what happened last week, because we also had the Venus Cazimi. Finding clarity was really the theme of last week. Moving from the fog of the Neptune-Mercury square at the last degrees of Sagittarius into the clarity that the Venus Cazimi was going to bring. And now maybe things are being tested a little bit. Week 1 was the introduction to the year, the orientation, the setting out of where everything is. We had the Cancer full moon that clarified our emotional needs and our needs for safety, how we nurture and protect others, and what we need as well. And you may have had some insights come through with that. And then the Venus Cazimi asking us about what we truly value and what we're willing to commit to. And now these clarified values are meeting our efforts, our ambition, and the reality, what we're working towards. So this is more of a constructive kind of week where we're building what matters to us. Capricorn is a sign ruled by Saturn, and this is about long-term work. Saturn is about building firm foundations. It's an earth sign. And Saturn itself is the Lord of time. So he's concerned with us committing long-term to things. And also, he's a planet that can often say no. He's showing us what we don't want. So what we don't want to commit to long-term, so that we can make those decisions about what we do, rather than the planets that show us the yeses, like Venus and Jupiter. Yes, what we do want. This is showing us no, what we don't. Or maybe putting restrictions and showing us where we need boundaries as well in order to keep ourselves safe. So we're seeing a lot of Mars coming up here. We've got Mars with Venus and the Mars Cazimi, and then Mars opposite Jupiter. And Mars in Capricorn is exalted, so it's very effective. It's not impulsive or expressive. Again, it's playing this long game. With Saturn, it's very strategic and disciplined and results focused, those earthy, tangible, pragmatic results that come from long-term planning and long-term work. So the key question for this week is, what are we willing to build and sustain over time? So when we look at this first aspect on the 7th, where Venus and Mars come together, and this is where desire meets our willpower and our effort, these two planets, Venus and Mars, they're both about what we desire, but in different ways. Venus is a planet of attraction, about love, desire, beauty, connection. She brings people together in positive ways, whereas Mars will separate. It's also what we desire, but it's what we will fight for, what we're willing to go into conflict for. That clarifies what we will and won't put our energy, our motivation, and our effort towards. Venus has clarified what we desire, and we may not be aware of it because both Venus and Mars are not visible in the sky, as I said last week, and we won't maybe be aware of everything that's happening at the moment. It may be felt in internal ways, in reflections or insights that come through to you, maybe in your dreams as well. It might not be until March that we start seeing the external manifestations of everything that's going on now, but it's worth doing this reflective work. And as these planets meet, they start a new cycle together, and their cycles tend to be about 2 years. So they last met in February 2024, and that was also in a Saturn sign in Aquarius. And they'll next meet in November 2027, and that will be in Jupiter's sign of Sagittarius. So a totally different kind of energy when they next meet. But for now, in Capricorn, we're focused on what we're building long term. So the attraction that Venus feels becomes practical. The creativity that she offers us meets Saturn's desire for discipline and Mars's focus and drive. Relationships could be tested by consistency rather than just the chemistry. Does this relationship have the ability to stand the test of time? Is there emotional intelligence and connection there rather than just the physical attraction? So those might be the thoughts. You may feel a pull to set long-term goals in these kind of areas. You may feel the need to clarify the foundations of a serious relationship, or to progress a relationship that you're in, or to leave a relationship that you're in, or to clarify what that relationship actually is. What foundations does it stand on, or to put a label on it? And that stands for all kinds of relationships, not just sexual or love related, but also collaborations, work related, and creative collaborations. There may be a project that you're working on that's going to require patience and endurance. And this is the ideal time to set the foundations for that and to clarify what your vision is for it. And there's always a shadow side that we need to be aware of and watch out for. And that could be some sort of transactional relating, like when you hear people say, how could they do that because I did this? I did this for them. And then you have expectations that they're going to behave in a certain way because you've done this for them, so they should do this for you. And it doesn't work like that. We can't expect that people are going to change their behavior because we've done something for them. If we do something for somebody, we have to do that just with an open heart and be willing to give unconditionally if we're going to give. And this is a time when we might see that as a shadow, and we might have that mirror held up to us at this time. I always watch out for that word should in a conversation. If you hear somebody saying they should have done that, or you're using that word yourself, it's something that I always catch in my own conversations, or just feel that little red flag. And it's a time when you know that judge is stepping in. I always have that mantra in my head that adults don't tell other adults what to do, that we're each of us free to follow our own paths in life. We've all got our own charts that are giving us our own destinies and our own pulls, and our planets are asking us to do different things. And it's important that we respect that. So we can't tie the karma of another person down because we've taken a certain action. We've got our free will to take an action and choice. And we can't tie another person down because we've taken an action or made a decision or choice. But what we can do is take control of our own actions. So if you decide to give freely to somebody, then give freely, but do so without that expectation. And if you find that there is some transactional relating, this is a good time to catch it in yourself and maybe decide that for this next 2-year cycle, you might catch yourself and maybe try and change that if you want to. Again, I'm an adult. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just guiding you in how I try and improve that for myself, or how I try and catch that. And so we're just aligning our actions with our values and questioning our values as well. And if something matters to us, are we showing up accordingly? Are our actions matching what we say matters to us? And notice as well the alignment of the planets as we move through this week. At the moment, we've got Mercury bringing up the rear in the first decan of Capricorn, the first 10 degrees of Capricorn. In the second decan, we have the stellium of planets. We've got the Sun at 17 degrees, Mars at 18, and that's conjunct Venus at 18. And then as we move from the 7th to the 9th, we move to the Mars Cazimi. I've got the picture there of Mars with the Sun. And now we've got the Sun and Mars in slightly different positions. Mercury has moved into the second decan of Capricorn, which is where the Sun and Mars are as well at 19 degrees, and Venus. So we've got all of these 4 planets now. Bring this focus to this second decan of Capricorn. And this decan, I've got a picture of the pyramids here because Austin Coppock calls this decan pyramids, because it's about the architects designing these long standing legacy and building this structure that stands this test of time. And the Cazimi moment is a moment of profound purification and clarity for any planet as it conjuncts the Sun. It meets the Sun in the sky. And we see that as the degree and minutes are exact. This is said to be entering the throne room, the Sun as the cosmic king, and the planet gets an audience with the king, a private audience. It is ennobled for a time. They have this conversation. There's no minutes. taken, no other persons present. And although obviously Venus is just in the antechamber, maybe listening outside, just fresh from that conjunction of Mars and Venus. So they're very tight, these three planets still, and that is significant. This Mars Cazimi is coloured by the fact that Venus is still at this degree. So it's a triple conjunction, really. She's only just separating. So it is very significant that we've got these three at the same time. It's not just a Mars Cazimi, but it's very rare that it's a Mars Cazimi when Mars is exalted, but also that Venus is present as well. So I expect that this will be a significant time for the meanings of these planets and a significant restart. And it's almost like if Mars is the architect of these pyramids, he's got all the blueprints and plans laid out and everybody's opinions. And yet suddenly there's this spotlight shone on it, and the sun just illuminates the problems and the solutions at the same time. And suddenly Mars has a new vision, a new direction, a new purpose that the sun has gifted. And again, because as Mars emerges from this meeting, he's still not visible in the sky, and he's still shrouded from our vision by these bright beams of the sun. So we on Earth are not privy to all of this information that Mars has discovered, but it will be shared with us eventually as Mars becomes visible in March. But for now, this is all going on behind the scenes. And for us, it may be felt more internally in inner knowing, coming through in dreams and in our emotions. And I always say to beware that people around us are also experiencing this, and we all have it in different places in our chart. We all have different natal placements. So be aware that everybody's experiencing it in slightly different ways as well. So hold compassion for everybody, because Mars and the sun are both fiery planets. So with all of this going on, there could be tension as well. This is a testing time and a tense time, the time when our ambition, drive and will is being recalibrated. So we might find that scattered effort is being redirected as this vision emerges. And we're also releasing as we've come from the old cycles. So maybe misplaced battles can be dropped now. As this spotlight is shone on the new vision, we can release that old focus on problems that maybe don't matter so much anymore now. Our long-term priorities become clear now as we get a new direction forwards. So in Capricorn, Mars wants these results that are going to last. It's like choosing the right mountain to climb or building this pyramid in a way that is going to last. You can imagine that if they'd made the wrong structural decisions, that these pyramids would have crumbled and they'd have never lasted until our time to see them. And the shadow here might be over-identifying with productivity or authority. We've just had a Cancer full moon that's reminded us about our own inner needs for safety and self-care and emotional nurturing. And that's in contrast with this feeling that we must always be productive and respond well to authority. This is reminding us that there needs to be a balance, that we need that disciplined action, yes, but we also need to align it with responsibility, and that's to ourselves as well as to others. Like that expression, you can't pour from an empty cup. We need to ensure that our needs are met, and we'll find that as the day progresses. First, Venus will oppose Jupiter, and then we'll find the Sun and Mars will oppose Jupiter in Cancer. And it's going to remind us of those things that the full moon was teaching us. And I will come to that a little bit more, but we'll talk about the Venus opposition. But while the Mars Cazimi is going on, it's asking us, where is our energy best invested right now, and reminding us of what we learned from the Cancer full moon as well. And then we go on to the Venus-Jupiter opposition, and Jupiter's coming in with 3 oppositions, first to Venus, then the Sun, and then to Mars. But when it's opposing Venus, it's maybe inflating our sense of pleasure, spending, emotional generosity. Venus represents women, love, creativity, arts, all the things that we enjoy that may be pleasant distractions. And Capricorn obviously is focused on our purpose. It's hard to tease apart the significations between the Venus, Sun, and Jupiter. The Sun opposite Jupiter could inflate confidence or self-importance, and Mars opposite Jupiter could inflate effort into overreach or conflict. So we may find as Venus opposes Jupiter that some of these other significations creep in because they're all at 19 degrees. So I can't really talk about just Venus. without mentioning that we've got the Sun and Mars in Cazimi, ennobled Mars, and they're all looking on at Venus, knowing that they too will oppose. But first of all, we're looking at our desires for connection, for attraction in the Venusian way, and how that's being expanded, but with that consideration to those ambitions and our own capacity. So this is our need for self-care and rest as well. And then we move to the Sun opposite Jupiter. And we still have Mars at 19 degrees. And now the Sun and Venus are both in that third decan. And this third decan is more about a throne, being secure and stable, being like the CEO, the person at the big desk where the buck stops. So it's less about the architect who's designing the plans and more now about the big boss who's got the overall view of the whole project and the person who's got the ultimate responsibility for everything that's happening. All of the moving parts are coming together now for this whole vision. So as Venus opposes Jupiter, we tested our values and attractions against our needs for emotional security, nurturing, and a solid foundation. And now the Sun opposes Jupiter next. And this is looking at our sense of purpose and identity and how that's tied to the projects, the why behind the blueprint. Jupiter can be about values and faith, and it can be the mage or the philosopher. So he's asking us why. Why are we doing this? What is the big picture? How is this going to help us? Because he's in Cancer and concerned with nurturing and our emotional needs. He's asking, okay, you've got this big project, but how is it going to help you? You know, what is your purpose in doing this? You know, is it just going to burn you out as the Sun, or how is this going to help you? And he's really asking you to look deep into that, how it's aligned with your values, how it aligns with your long-term visions, how it aligns with your purpose in life. And really testing the foundations of what you're working on right now and what your plans for it are. Is everything sustainable? Is this going to last? And then the final test comes when Mars moves into that final decan at 20 degrees and meets Jupiter. And then when it's a little more volatile now, looking at the integrity of our effort and action, the architectural drive and our efforts that we're pushing in. Is it inflated? Have we pushed ourselves beyond what is sustainable? Have we overexerted ourselves to a point where we could burn out and crash? Or are we asking other people to as well? Is it a win at all costs in the shadow? Is the drive to complete overriding any ethical concerns? So it can be pushing us too much, too fast, or too forcefully. We could find that we've got hard convictions, or that the effort is getting too much, or that the frustration is rising, especially if we're feeling progress is being blocked, because after all, this is Saturn's sign that's showing us where the restrictions are and where the boundaries are. So this could be very constructive because it's showing us exactly where the path to leadership lies. It's decisive and courageous and purposeful. And by finding the blockages, we also see where the clear paths are ahead. We know what will work and what won't work. But if we choose to stay in the frustration, or if we find others around us staying in the frustration, then things can get tense and uncomfortable. So be warned about that. Take a beat before you react. I teach mindfulness. If you've listened to any of my mindfulness, go into your mindful anchor before you react. Breathe, take a moment, and be aware that people are dealing with this. Everybody is experiencing this same sky and this same planetary conjunction, and maybe finding blocks to plans that they had a grand vision that they were excited about, and they're reaching these blockages. And particularly this Mars opposite Jupiter could be leading to burnout or unnecessary conflict. And that could be very difficult to deal with. So the wisdom here that Jupiter's teaching us is restraint and the limits of our own bodies, the limits of those people around us as well, and the need to take people with us as we go. And that true strength knows where the limits are and when enough is enough, and what human endeavour is possible and where it is not. So that's quite a heavy week for us, but forewarned is forearmed, I hope. So don't forget to lean into the lessons of the Cancer full moon and take them forward with us, because this Cancer full moon energy is with us for 2 weeks. And also I'm doing a lunar Decan walk, and there is an Astro Mindfulness episode for the second Decan of Cancer. So as those 3 planets move through that second Decan, it's worth revisiting that just to help you understand better what it's asking us for. So I will post the link to that in the show notes. So the overview of this week, I would say, is earning authority through effort. And if we do, we receive this gift because Jupiter does reward us, but you might experience setbacks and delays because Jupiter is retrograde. So it's taking us back to things that we've learned in the past, and all those RE words, as we often say with retrogrades. We're revising, reflecting, re-envisaging, reviewing. So this isn't about fast results here. We've got Saturn, who's the Lord of Time, taking things slowly, and we're in the planning stages. So it's not a fast moving time, but it is a time for readjusting, for getting that vision and laying these solid foundations so that our plans for 2026 are built on something really solid and something really manageable. So we're laying foundations, we're setting limits, and we're choosing which mountain we're going to climb. And we're preparing as well, because later in the month, Neptune will be moving into Aries and dissolving and changing our relationship with taking action altogether and bringing a whole different experience. And so that concludes this week. I hope you found this helpful. If you have, please do let us know what your plans are, where Capricorn is in your chart, and what other themes it's bringing in for you. And I will be back next week bringing you the 14th to the 21st of January. And if you're considering having a year ahead reading, which can be really helpful, knowing where all these planets are for you, knowing who your Lord of the Year is, which can help you know which transits are the most important ones to watch for you, then all of the Asteri Sofia Kairos astrologers have their books open for readings, and you will find how to contact us in the show notes, and you can reach out to whoever your favorite astrologer is, the one who speaks your language the best, who you understand, and contact them for a reading. This is a great time to do it as we're going through Capricorn season. Okay, I will see you next week for the 14th to the 21st of January. Thank you for joining us.